So we have arrived. We have arrived at the segment in the Above It All programming. This is a daily show, folks. A daily show that I do, and every single day I defend AOC. That's right. We're getting ready to attack the left. I am punching down on a podcaster that makes $30,000 a month. Myself, who makes $300 a month on Patreon. You're about to watch me punch down on someone that makes 100 times what I make on Patreon. That's right, folks. We're talking about Force the Vote. Brianna Joy Gray was apparently at it again. And so I got some clips here. I haven't watched them. I was told that they're good. And she was at it again, folks. So get ready for me to punch left. Me, an anarchist organizer who does direct action and local organizing. And I'm about to punch left on a corporate lawyer podcaster who's never organized a single thing in the history of things. So check this out, folks.
Vote. Right. This was not something that needed particularly large reach. In the first instance, you just needed to get these 5 or 6 progressives on board. Then when the 5 or 6 progressives don't vote to confirm Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, that penetrates.
Or say now here
when there's weeks and rounds and rounds and rounds of voting because they can't get to a consensus, they can't get to a Democratic majority. This is again
weeks of voting. Now I would like. Now first of all, I also want to say where like. Now let me like verify this. So I'm gonna go on the Bad Faith podcast because the last time I checked, like, and just, you know, bear with me here. Okay, so all right, who is this person? You see this person over here? I cannot figure out for the life of me who this person is because every time I watch the Bad Faith podcast, I only see one host, and that's this person, Brianna Joy Gray. So I'm trying to wonder who this person is. Does anyone know? Like, I'm trying to figure this out. They make $30,000 a month. $30,000 a month, folks. So I am punching down on this podcast. You know, you can check out my Patreon right here. I'm making $380 a month, okay? So I am punching down on a corporate lawyer right now. So I need y'all to understand just how nefarious I am as a person. But either way, she goes on. Let's continue.
Someone like me, or even more than me, someone like, you know, an unnamed podcaster is very easily written off as just naive or just hostile and driven by personality defects, and that's how the movement more broadly has been characterized. And the big brains on the left who kind of Sam, if I could just get this sentence out, we can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in Force the Vote. Hold themselves out as insiders with know-how, have attacked the credibility of the plan fundamentally. And the credibility of the idea that one should ever exert leverage. And the idea that anytime
Okay. So, because you didn't support... I was going to originally say a half-baked strategy, but it wasn't half-baked. It was like maybe, you know, like a 15th baked. Maybe a 37th, so 36th. I don't know how numbers work that far out, but like it was like you opened the oven and you put it in and you didn't even close the oven doors. The oven wasn't even preheated. Like, that's what I'm talking. Like, this strategy, literally, it did not exist. There was no strategy. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't get like there was no strategy. It was like, first of all, if you don't force them out, like, that was the strategy. Like, as far as I could tell, that was the strategy. My dog is now wondering what the hell's going on. But as far as I can tell, that was the strategy, is scream on your podcast, force them out, right? That was the strategy. That's not a strategy. And so, and Brianna Joy Gray is extrapolating from the fact that people were like, huh? That was the response from everyone else. It was, huh? What? Force the vote. Right? Like, that was the response. It was like, what are we doing? What did we get out of this? Huh? That was the response. So she is saying that means no one thinks that progressives should ever have leverage anywhere at all, ever, in any capacity. Huh? No one says that. This is a bizarre fucking straw man that says anyone who disagrees with me thinks that there should be no progressives in Congress ever at all, and they shouldn't ever exercise power in any capacity. No one's ever said that. There are literally, and I'm counting them on my hand. Check this out. These are the amount of people that have ever said anything that Brianna Joy Gray is even hinting at. There are 0 people in human history. Like, if you were to go back for hundreds of years and all the forced to vote battles that have gone on, you would find exactly 0 people that have ever said that the squad should have no leverage and that should never use leverage. 0 people ever in the history of the world, and probably, if I can make a prediction, in the future of the world, will have ever made that argument. But let's check this out again.
On the left, who kind of hold themselves out as insiders with know-how, have attacked the credibility of the plan fundamentally, and the credibility of the idea that one should ever exert leverage, and the idea that
one should. So again, we're talking about force to vote. I don't like. Again, it's not a plan. There was no plan. They never planned it. It was like someone saying, like, it would be like, if I on my podcast were like, it would be really cool if we forced a vote on legalizing psychedelics. That would be pretty cool. And then, I went on someone else's podcast and said, we should force the vote on legalizing psychedelics. And then 9 months later, that's right, folks, it's August of 2021. It's not December of 2020. And then 9 months later, I turned that into, now no one ever thinks that anyone should ever vote in an election. Why? I'm trying to find an analogy here, but this shit is so utterly bizarre on its face. I don't feel like I need it. We're 9 months after forced to vote, and she is now saying that anyone who disagreed in December of 2020 with the specific Jimmy Dore fanfiction somehow thinks that the squad should have no leverage ever. But also, wait a second, isn't that exactly what the People's Party is doing? They want to primary the squad. So they want literally all of their leverage to go bye-bye. Their argument, the People's Party argument, is that the squad shouldn't have leverage in the first place. So let's get them out of Congress. What is she doing? Is there more? Yes, there's more, folks.
This up with is to say, there's a world where Bernie stops trying to be the amendment king and realizes this is the end of his ride.
Yeah.
He's not going to run for president again. In all likelihood, his Senate seat is not threatened in any way, and who knows how long he even wants to continue doing that. If I were him at a certain point, I'd have enough.
I mean, I would have gone up to... It's a lovely state. It really is a lovely state.
Right. The man's in his 80s now. If there were ever a time where the risk-reward militated in favor of burning it all down, as it were,
I think he makes a different calculation.
That is clear that he makes a different calculation. It is clear that, but I think it's important to frame up and do the thought experiment for how things could go differently. Because as much as we root for the success of Senator Turner, as much as we root for the success of any of these firebrands, if at the crisis point, if at these moments of opportunity, they all flag and they all...
So Nina Turner not being a member of the House of Representatives didn't force the vote? So, if Nina Turner, someone who's not in Congress, can force the vote, why didn't Jimmy Dore, someone who's also not a member of Congress, force the vote? Now, in this fan fiction world, you don't even need to be an elected politician to force the vote. All of a sudden, Nina Turner failed to force the vote.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, only...
choose to do the less ambitious thing, the thing that ultimately preserves the system as it is, then that's a choice and that's fine. But I would prefer them to advertise themselves as being that kind of politician, because there is a real appetite for a genuine, sincere radical. And history has shown us that without the existence of those radicals, the Bernie Sanders of the world aren't able to actually achieve anything. And we need to identify the radicals and support them as well. And right now, it just feels like a void. The point.
Now again, I consider myself a radical. I am an anarchist. I don't even think electoralism is even, like, I think we need to spend time on it when it's necessary and relevant. But the people, literally, the Bad Faith podcast's entire goal, the Force to Vote entire mission, is based on electoralism. That's their whole thing. The People's Party. It's all of the party politic. The party, the party, the party. My party's better than your party. I love the party. Party, party, party. I say, fuck that shit. Fuck your party. Fuck that party. Fuck all these parties. Let's get in the streets. Let's demand change. And let's camp outside the city council's office. Let's get thousands of motherfuckers to camp outside the city council's office so they can't go home. Until they fucking demand, until they pass things that we demand. That's something I'm advocating for. I'm advocating that we organize our neighborhoods. I'm advocating that, we form unions and organizations and we vote on things democratically and we find ways to get more people into the fold. We educate our neighbors. We provide food and rental assistance for our neighbors. We don't need the government. We can do this ourselves. That is a real radical. Now, in Brianna Joy Gray's fantasy world, a real radical is someone who's like, you ever heard of the People's Party? That, in her fanfiction universe, that's a real radical. Corporate lawyer says what?
The really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ